What is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the Red Type Politics channel. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And today is a very interesting video. I want to go over some news that has come out about the RFK and Nicole Shanahan campaign. And I just want to go over like the map that if what they're saying is true, I want to show you guys what it is. So if you guys don't know, Nicole Shanahan was on a podcast and she said that the campaign is looking at a possible drop out of the race, if they should drop out of the race, and endorse Donald Trump or join his side. So, number one, what I'm going to show you guys is just some demographics, basically showing that if this does happen, Trump is more likely to win. And I'll just explain the demographics to you now. So, if you look at independent voters, most of them go for Democrats just because you have more of these moderates. Because if you really look at independents, they are actually more moderate Democrats. The moderate Democrats switched to independent because they didn't want to vote for Trump. And they don't like Kamala because she of her radical left and socialist mindset and the policies that she wants to put out. So they're voting for RFK. And you're seeing these polls, these three-way polls that have him up by, let's say, 7. That is most of the undecided voters going for RFK. So if we have an endorsement of RFK and Nicole Shanahan for Trump, that is going to be huge because, number one, it will help Trump with many moderate voters. And it will help him basically grow a more moderate campaign. And it will help him overall in these parts of, let's say, like the Rust Belt, for example. It can help him in the Rust Belt gain voters that are unsure who to vote for. So let's get started on the map. So I'm going to fill in the safe states for both campaigns, which is basically just the normal safe states that I usually have. But yeah, basically I'm now including Florida. By the way, you guys are going to get to see my updated map most likely on Thursday. But yeah, you guys are gonna get to see that, which is gonna be pretty cool. But yeah. Let me just fill in the rest, and I will talk about the rest of the map. That is very interesting, because I find it very fascinating. Yeah. But, it is a very interesting map. I find it yeah, as you guys can see, 191 electoral votes up for grabs, and these are the safe states. You can probably see some many differences. But yeah, so let's get into it. So I'm going to do the likely states, which is Texas, North Carolina, Nevada. That is for Trump. Then we have likely, which is Oregon, New Jersey, and Minnesota, just because of Tim Walz. Yeah. I do think that it could be lean. I'll actually put it as lean, just because I do think it's going to be around the 5-point margin if there's an endorsement from RFK to Trump. Just because you have a lot of the coal region that usually does shift a lot of things in Minnesota. You're going to see a lot of these things come out. And if you have help from a more moderate side, let's say from Democrats, because that will help them a lot, you're going to see a shift, heavy shift, especially in North Carolina, especially in Texas and Nevada, that will shift the election. So, yeah, same thing for Georgia. I do think that it is a lean state, but I will put it likely. It's going to be like 5 points exactly. Like 5.1. It's going to be a little higher than Minnesota. But I do think in Georgia that if Kamala has no support in the cities where she's getting, if all these moderate voters if she doesn't get the endorsement from RFK, there's going to be no support in the main cities, like Gwinnett County, in a lot of the areas, like Cobb, for example, that does need a shift left in order for her to win, because you're going to have a lot of these rural areas going to the right. It is going to be very hard for her to gain support. That's why I have Georgia as a likely state. So let's move on to the lean states, which is Wisconsin, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. So these states have a lot of white working class that shift elections. They have a lot of women voters and key voters that need to do they shift the elections. If you look at 2020, the women voters and Arab voters shifted the election in Michigan. For example, if you look at 2020, that if you look at demographics, you'll see what I mean. But if you have these key voters, you're not going to win them if they're going from independent to Trump, which is a lot of the electorate now. If you look at party voter registration, a lot of them going for other third party, which that means that they're more moderate and they don't like the both sides. So it's a very interesting thing. And then I'll put Virginia as tilt. It's going to be like 0.9. Virginia is a very interesting conversation. And then I'll get down to the last few states. Virginia, if you look at it, Virginia does not like Trump. But if you have a case scenario where you have a lot of these moderates in these big city areas, like especially near the DC area, you're going to have these voters shift. And you're going to see a massive turnout, probably at the same turnout as 2020, of these white working class voters in these cities. And these African-American black voters, you're going to see a massive turnout of them. And they're moderate voters. Most black voters and most of these white working class voters are actually moderate. They don't like both sides just because of their stance on an issue. So that's why I have Virginia as tilt. Then we have the last few closest states, which Trump is going to win Michigan. New Mexico is tilt. Then we have Maine at large going for Trump. New Hampshire and Nebraska second being tilt as well. So the reason why I have put those areas, so I'll just go one by one. Maine at large, RFK would take a serious chunk of the vote in Maine in the first round, which would offset a win in Kamala for the first round, which would really, really hurt her. If you look at it, it doesn't do well. She doesn't do well in these areas, especially in northern Maine, which is where she might need to do well to win Maine at large, because she needs to bring down Trump's vote count, which she gets. And if you look at it, she has no support there if you're getting an independent like RFK to endorse Trump. Same thing for Michigan. Michigan is a different conversation just because demographics are so important there. We have a lot of minorities there. Same thing with Georgia, but Georgia is a different conversation. A lot of minorities, and most of them are moderate, will mean that they will go for the Republican. I do have Michigan as a close race still, even if RFK endorses Trump, just because of these different demographics. I don't know how the demographics will turn out. If I see more information, I do feel comfortable putting Michigan at lean. I do think it's going to be a high tilt margin, like a 0.7, 0.8. But for right now, it is tilt. Same thing for New Mexico. The issue with New Mexico is the high Latino vote. The Latino vote are more sensibly moderate to maybe center left, most of them. But it's a very interesting state because of the demographics that you have in these big cities like Albuquerque, and definitely near the Four Corners as well. If you don't have high turnout in the main city in the Four Corners, which does matter, you think in these areas that don't have a lot of people that they don't matter. They do, because they somewhat shift elections, like you saw in 2016, like you saw in 2020. But yeah, this is a very interesting map. I do think that we could see a progression, like Trump winning a New Hampshire, him winning a Virginia, him winning even a New Mexico. Heck, I can even put in a Minnesota. Like, the sky's the limit for Trump now at this point, just because the effect at the DNC that you could have saw that you're not seeing, because you're supposed to see a surge from these like events, especially in the RNC. You saw a massive surge for Trump in the polls during the RNC. You're not seeing that now. Trump actually got ahead in Poly Market after being down 10 points in Poly Market. He's now up during the DNC day 2. So that's not good. So that just leads me to believe that Trump's going to do better. I had originally in my forecast him losing Arizona. I don't believe that is the case anymore. Like, you're gonna see it in my next video on Thursday, most likely, or Saturday, that it's gonna come out about my recent prediction, my updated prediction, and you guys are gonna be surprised about what I say, because I do have quite a bit to say about it. But it's a very interesting thing. But yeah. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys want to see as video-wise. Hope you guys are enjoying the CNN election night. I'm pretty sure you guys are, just because of how much views it is getting. So thank you guys for that. Again, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.